You've been lied to your entire life. They told you if you work hard, save and play fair, success will find you. Yet here you are, drowning in bills while the wealthy multiply empires. Why? Because money was never about fairness. It was never about hard work. Money is about power, and power is stolen, never given. The rich know this. They move in silence, they bend reality, they weaponize patience while you chase comfort. And unless you learn their hidden laws, the dark, forbidden strategies that separate predators from prey, you'll die working for someone else's dream. This is not motivation. This is initiation. The moment you cross this line, you'll never see the world the same again. Part 1, Silence and Unreadability. They say words hold power. The truth? Words betray you. Every sound you make, every reaction you show, bleeds information. And predators feed on it. Look around any negotiation, any boardroom, even casual conversations. The loudest person in the room usually loses. Why? Because talking exposes need. Talking exposes weakness. Silence, on the other hand, bends people. Silence is pressure. Most people can't handle silence. It gnaws at them. It forces them to reveal more than they intended. And in that vacuum, the predator always wins. That's why the rich don't scramble, don't chase, don't rush. They let others spill their secrets, bleed their emotions, and then they strike. This is your first weapon, weaponized silence. Stop thinking silence is passive. It's not absent. It's presence, sharpened into a blade. When you withhold words, you create tension. That tension forces others to reveal themselves. In deals, they'll lower their price just to fill the quiet. In arguments, they'll confess their true fear just to break the discomfort. In relationships, they'll chase harder because you're not desperate to be understood. The weak speak to prove themselves. The predator waits. That's the difference. But silence alone won't save you. Because even if you master it, if your emotions leak through your face, your body, your voice, you're still prey. And this brings us to the second law, unreadability. Most people wear their inner world like a neon sign. Fear, greed, insecurity, broadcasting out of their eyes, their posture, their tone. The predators pick this up instantly. That's how markets are manipulated, employees are exploited, and entire nations are controlled. Think about poker. The cards matter less than the tells. The same is true with money. If people can read you, they can predict you. And if they can predict you, they can control you. Unreadability makes you dangerous. When you stop broadcasting emotions, when you master stillness, no one knows what you're thinking. They don't know if you're desperate or calm, weak or powerful. That mystery tilts the field in your favor. Here's the truth. A man who cannot be read cannot be predicted. A man who cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. That man is free. Unreadability doesn't mean becoming robotic. It means becoming deliberate. It means controlling your reactions instead of letting others harvest them. When others panic, you stay calm. When others gloat, you remain neutral. When others bait you, you don't bite. Picture this. An investor waits as markets crash. Everyone is screaming, panicking, selling. He shows no fear. He waits in silence. The herd collapses, and only then does he buy. That calmness, that ghost-like patience makes him wealthier, while everyone else bleeds. Unreadability isn't just about hiding feelings. It's about starving predators of the very fuel they rely on. Without access to your emotions, they can't exploit you. But here's the warning. Silence can turn into isolation, and unreadability can drift into paranoia. Balance matters. You're not muting yourself forever. You're training yourself to use words sparingly, to reveal emotions strategically, to stay unpredictable when it counts. This is how empires are built, by those who refuse to be prey. The herd talks too much. The herd reacts too fast. The herd broadcasts its weakness. And the herd gets harvested, but you're learning the first steps into power, silence, and unreadability. These are not tips. These are weapons. Invisible, subtle, and devastating when mastered. Now pause and reflect. How many times in your life have you lost power simply by talking too much? How many times have you revealed fear or desperation without realizing it? How many times did someone read your emotions and use them against you? If you're honest, the answer is countless. And that's exactly why you've stayed ordinary. But the moment you reclaim your silence, the moment you erase your tells, you step out of the herd. You stop being predictable prey. You start becoming the ghost, the one who observes, waits, and strikes with precision. This is the foundation. This is where transformation begins. Silence bends people. Unreadability shields you. Master these two laws and you'll already feel the shift, because from this point forward, you're no longer just another worker chained to bill. You're an observer of the game. And once you observe without being observed, you've already become dangerous. Part 2, Predators, Patience and Leverage. Most people sprint after money like desperate gamblers. The rich, they move like hunters, silent, patient, waiting in the shadows until the perfect strike. Patience is a weapon. But not the soft patience of waiting in line or tolerating boredom. Predators' patience is different. It is active, strategic, calculated. The average person cannot wait. They want money fast, success fast, results fast. That's why they chase trends, gamble on hype, and get lured into get-rich-quick schemes. Their impatience makes them prey. Every rushed decision bleeds wealth into someone else's pockets. Now look at the wealthy. They don't chase, they don't rush, they wait. Like a lion hidden in tall grass, they conserve energy until the herd is distracted, until fear grips the weak, and then they pounce. This is why the rich buy when others panic, why they expand when others retreat, why they hold firm while the masses are selling in fear. Their patience multiplies their power, but patience alone isn't enough, because waiting without strategy is just stagnation. Which is why the second weapon matters, leverage. Leverage is the difference between working for money and making money work for you. The poor and middle class trade hours for wages. They sweat, they grind, they save pennies, and yet nothing changes. Why? Because hours don't multiply. Once they're gone forever. The rich understand this. They don't sell time. They build systems, positions, and structures that siphon wealth toward them, even when they're asleep. Think about your job. You work 8 hours, and your paycheck is a fraction of the value you produce. The rest flows silently upward into your employer's pockets. Why? Because they've positioned themselves above you. That's leverage. One landlord lives comfortably while hundreds of tenants work jobs just to pay him rent every month. One investor grows richer while thousands gamble and lose in the same market. One corporation extracts billions from millions of customers who complain yet still buy. That's leverage, and here's the cold truth. Most people never think about leverage. They only think about earning. They think effort is everything. They are slaves to the illusion that hard work will save them. But no matter how hard you work, if you're selling time, you're selling your life. And life is the one currency that never multiplies. The predator flips the script. Instead of trading hours, he trades systems. Instead of grinding endlessly, he builds positions where other people's work, money, and energy flow into him. Niccolo Machiavelli once warned rulers never to rely only on their own arms, but to use others whenever possible. The same applies to wealth. If you're always relying on your own labor, you will always stay small. True predators use other people's labor, other people's money, other people's fear, and even other people's desires. But let's be clear, leverage is not cruelty. It is design. It's how the game of wealth has always been played. And here's the paradox. Patience and leverage are twins. Without patience, leverage fails, because leverage requires timing. You can have a powerful position, but if you rush, if you panic, if you act without calculation, you collapse. Patience protects leverage. Leverage rewards patience. Together, they transform you from prey into predator. Picture this, an economic crash hits. The average man sells his investments at a loss. He's desperate, afraid, reactive. The predator waits. He knows fear is temporary. He uses patience. And when the herd has bled itself dry, he leverages his capital to buy everything at a fraction of its worth. Years later, he is rich and the herd is still broke. Or imagine 2 workers. One saves pennies, waiting for promotions that never come. The other uses patience to learn, to watch, to wait. Then he creates a system, maybe real estate, maybe an online business, maybe investments, that funnels money to him while others are sleeping. That's leverage in action, but here's the warning: patience can rot into inaction. Leverage can collapse without control. These weapons demand discipline. You can't afford to act on impulse. You can't afford to cling to comfort. The herd does that, and that's why they stay broke. Predators' patience feels unnatural at first. You'll want to jump, to prove yourself, to make something happen. That's exactly what the world wants from you, predictability. But the predator resists. He waits. He moves only when the outcome is certain. And leverage? It begins with a simple shift in mindset. Stop asking, how can I earn more? Start asking, how can I position myself so that money flows to me without my direct labor? That's the pivot that changes everything. So here's the hard question. Are you willing to be patient while others rush? Are you willing to build leverage instead of trading hours? Or will you keep running on the same treadmill as everyone else? Loud, desperate, broke? Because the ones who master these two laws, patience and leverage, eventually stop playing the game altogether. They become the game. And while the herd chases scraps, they quietly build empires. Part 3, narrative and illusion money doesn't follow reality, it follows belief. And the one who controls the story controls the flow of wealth. Most people think money flows to the best product, the hardest worker, or the smartest idea. That's the surface illusion. If that were true, geniuses wouldn't die broke and millions of hard workers wouldn't struggle to pay rent. Wealth doesn't follow effort. Wealth follows narrative. Humans are irrational creatures. We don't buy what something is, we buy what we believe it is. That's why brands become cults. That's why religions grow into empires. That's why a politician with the right story can command millions with nothing more than words. The wealthy understand this. They don't sell products, they sell stories. They don't sell fabric, they sell status. They don't sell cars, they sell identity. They don't sell technology, they sell a vision of the future. And here's the secret: the story doesn't need to be true. It only needs to be believed. Once people accept your narrative, they will hand you their money, their time, their loyalty, sometimes even their lives. This is the law of narrative. Think about it. Paper money itself is it's worthless on its own. But because people believe in the story of currency, it runs nations. A diamond is just compressed carbon, yet the story of rarity makes it priceless. Luxury brands take ordinary cloth, attach a logo, and people pay 10 times more, not for the cloth, but for the illusion of status. If you reject narrative as manipulation, you've already lost. Because money doesn't reward truth, it rewards mastery of appearances. Machiavelli himself said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." And this brings us to the second weapon, illusion. Illusion is the art of shaping appearances into value. People don't buy reality, they buy perception. The wealthy understand this so deeply that they create value out of nothing. Courses are sold by men who aren't rich themselves, yet they profit because they sell the illusion of wealth. Influencers post staged lifestyles, and their audience funds it because they buy into the illusion of success. Look at marketing. No one needs another soda, another sneaker, another gadget. Yet billions flow every year because illusions of belonging, identity, and desire are engineered into the product. The weak resist this. They say, "I'll just tell the truth. I'll just work harder," and that's why they stay broke. The world doesn't pay for effort. It pays for belief. Now, don't confuse illusion with lying. Illusion is design. It's crafting the frame through which others see you, your work, your product. Reality is what something is. Illusion is what people perceive. And in wealth, perception is always stronger than reality. Consider this. A man sells bread. Another man sells the same bread but brands it as artisan, organic, crafted. Which one gets rich? The second. Same product, different illusion, or think of social influence. One person shows up as they are. Another curates their image, controls what they reveal, projects power. The second person attracts followers, investors, and opportunities. Not because they're better, but because they've mastered illusion. This is the pattern. Narrative shapes belief. Illusion multiplies value. Together they bend money toward you. But like every weapon, there's danger. Narratives can backfire if exposed. Illusions can collapse if not reinforced. That's why the wealthy maintain control. They balance ruthlessness with precision, always staying one step ahead of collapse. Ask yourself, how much of your life have you spent chasing reality while ignoring illusion?
How often have you been trapped by someone else's story, someone else's crafted appearance?
When you understand narrative and illusion, you stop being manipulated. Instead, you begin to shape reality itself. Because money doesn't follow what's real, it follows what's believed. And the one who shapes belief doesn't just grow rich, he controls the future. Part 4, Exploitation and Withholding. The rich don't invent wealth, they extract it. And they don't give power freely, they keep it locked, forcing you to pay for every drop. The word exploitation has been painted as evil, but strip away the emotion and you'll see all wealth is built on it. Someone is always extracting more value than they give. That's how profit exists. The worker produces $100 worth of labor, but gets paid $20. The business owner pockets the other $80. That's exploitation. The landlord collects rent far above the cost of maintenance. That's exploitation. Banks lend you money created from thin air, then charge you interest for decades.
That's exploiting the harsh truth.
The world's richest didn't get there by working harder than you. They got there by learning how to extract value from everyone beneath them. But here's the twist. Exploitation isn't always abuse. It's design. It's how hierarchies function. Every empire, every corporation, every system is built to funnel value upward. And unless you position yourself on the extracting side, you will always be the one being drained. Now, how do the wealthy make this sustainable? That's where the second weapon comes in, withholding. The rich don't flood the world with abundance. They create scarcity. They drip feed what people crave. They withhold supply to raise demand, withhold access to raise desire, withhold knowledge to maintain control. Think about it. Diamonds aren't rare, but companies lock them in vaults to maintain the illusion of scarcity. Social media platforms drip feed visibility, forcing creators to dance for algorithms. Corporations withhold innovation, releasing products slowly, generation by generation, to squeeze maximum profit. Even in relationships, withholding is power. The one who reveals less, gives less, withholds more, always controls the dynamic. Desire intensifies when supply is scarce. And here's the genius of the predator. Exploitation and withholding reinforce each other. You exploit by extracting more than you give. You withhold by controlling the flow of what others need. Together, you trap people in a cycle where they crave, they depend, they pay. It's the same game in every arena. Labor. Workers are exploited for their time, while promotions and raises are withheld to keep them obedient. Markets. Consumers are exploited through inflated prices, while scarcity is engineered to make them beg for more. Knowledge. Information is exploited by those who have it, while access to it is withheld from the masses. The herd calls this unfair. The predator calls this structure. And structure always favors the one who designs it. Here's the uncomfortable part. You've probably been on the wrong side of this equation your entire life.
You've been the one exploited.
You've been the one starved by scarcity. You've been the one begging for scraps while someone else siphons the value you created. And why? Because you've been trained to believe giving is noble while taking is greedy. You've been told that patience will be rewarded, that honesty will pay off, that fairness is the highest virtue. Meanwhile, the people at the top exploit your obedience and withhold what you need to keep you dependent. So what's the move? Do you become cruel?
No, cruelty is sloppy.
You become deliberate. You stop being ashamed of extraction. You stop flooding the world with your energy, your time, your love for free. You start practicing controlled giving. Strategic withholding. Think of your attention. Right now, it's being exploited every day. Social media companies withhold visibility to keep you scrolling, to keep you addicted. Why shouldn't you apply the same principle in your life? Why shouldn't your presence, your energy, your skills, your knowledge be scarce and valuable instead of cheap and available? Scarcity multiplies value.
Abundance kills it. The predator knows that. That's why they don't run after people.
They don't beg. They don't overshare.
They keep distant.
They keep control. They make you want what they're holding back. The weak give too much, reveal too much, make themselves too available. And then they wonder why no one respects them, why no one pays them, why no one values what they offer. Exploitation and withholding are not optional. They are the engine of wealth and power. If you refuse them, you will stay prey. If you embrace them, you begin to design your own system. Ask yourself honestly, who's exploiting your time, your labor, your emotions right now? And what are you withholding, if anything at all? Because until you flip those roles, until you stop being the one drained and start being the one extracting, you will never escape the herd. Part 5, Detachment and Legacy. The deadliest predator isn't the one who wants everything. It's the one who can walk away from anything. The herd is chained by need.
They need money.
They need validation. They need comfort, entertainment, approval, recognition. And because of that need, they are endlessly controlled. But the predator plays a different game. His power begins with detachment. Detachment is the ability to step back, to not be ruled by craving. When others panic, you remain still. When others beg, you remain silent. When others are desperate to win, you are calm enough to lose and still move on. That freedom makes you untouchable. Why do businesses trap people in debt?
Because debt creates need.
Why do governments encourage dependency?
Because dependency keeps control.
Why do weak relationships suffocate? Because they're built on desperate attachment. Detachment cuts the leash. It makes you dangerous because no one knows what can bend you.
If you're not desperate for approval, manipulation fails.
If you're not chained to material things, scarcity doesn't scare you. If you can walk away at any moment, no one can trap you. But detachment isn't cold indifference.
It's not about rejecting it. It's about being so grounded that you choose, instead of being forced.
It's the art of owning your wants without being owned by them. And this leads to the final weapon, legacy. The herd thinks about the next paycheck, the next weekend, the next distraction. The predator thinks about the next decade, the next century. He designs structures that outlive him. Think about dynasties, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. Their wealth didn't just feed themselves, it engineered generations of power. Their children didn't start from zero. They inherited systems, networks, and positions that continued the cycle of dominance. Legacy is leverage extended through time. It's when your power doesn't die with you but compounds beyond your lifespan. And legacy isn't only money, it's also narrative.
A family name that commands respect.
A reputation that opens doors long after you're gone. An ideology that shapes minds you'll never meet. That is true immortality, the kind built not on flesh but on design. But here's the truth. Most people never reach this stage. They die as prey, consumed by short-term survival. They never detach from need, so they never rise high enough to build legacy. The question for you is, will you? Will you keep chasing crumbs, drowning in need, never free, never dangerous? Or will you detach, design, and leave behind something that makes your bloodline unbreakable? Because silence, unreadability, patience, leverage, narrative, illusion, exploitation, and withholding, all of these weapons lead here. They're not random tricks. They're steps toward ultimate freedom. And that freedom isn't just for you, it's for those who come after you. Detachment protects you from control. Legacy ensures your line never returns to slavery. That is the final law, and once you master it, you are no longer just a player in the game.
You are the one who writes the rules.
Closing. You've just walked through the hidden laws, the weapons the rich use, the herd fears, and the predator's master. Silence, unreadability, patience, leverage, narrative, illusion, exploitation, withholding, detachment, and finally,
You see, these are not theories.
they are the rules written in blood, power, and wealth.
And now they sit in your hands. The real question is, what will you do with them?
Will you keep living like prey, predictable, desperate, disposable? Or will you sharpen these weapons and step out of the herd? Because once you see the game, you can never unsee it. And from this point forward, you're either the hunter or the hunted.